Hello everybody, welcome to another deck tech. This time we're doing Grimgrin Corpseborn, a semi-tribal zombie deck. Now, it's semi-tribal because we have things like Erebos and the Duskmantle Guildmage and stuff like that in there. But the main thing is we have Grimgrin Corpseborn, who comes into play tapped, and he doesn't untap during your untap step. He's a sacrifice outlet because you sacrifice another creature to untap him and put a +1/+1 counter on him. And whenever he attacks, you destroy target creature defending player controls. Then put a +1/+1 counter on Grimgrin. It's a pretty powerful combination, especially when you consider the sacrifice outlets that are in here and the infinite combos you can go off on. Now, you may see that there's 101 cards here. That's because there's a flip card in here. If we take a look at it, let's see here, what is that name? There is a card, Lord of Lineage. His flip side is the Bloodline Keeper, which is also in here. If we come up top, there we go. There's a Bloodline Keeper. You put a vampire creature token with flying onto the battlefield. You can transform him when you have 5 or more vampires. And when you do, he becomes the Lord of Lineage, which gives your vampire creatures +2/+2, and a 2/2 black vampire creature with flying for a tap. So that's one of the Innistrad flip cards that I put in there to create tokens to use with some of the combos that I have. So let's take a look at the graphics. Here we are, and there's of course a whole bunch of cards in there. We will go ahead and grab. I wish we could multi-select. So, Lord of Lineage. Oh, actually, we don't have to care too much about him. We know what that does. Some of the ones that we are really interested in. We are interested in the main combo is in our 5 Grimgrin plus a 1-drop, which is right here, Gravecrawler. And then anything that pings, such as Vela the Nightclad, which is right here, or Vengeful Dead, which I believe is a 4-drop or a 3-drop. I can't remember. I know Diregraf Captain is one of them, and the Vengeful Dead, I think, is a 4-drop right here. So each of these, Vela causes each opponent to lose a life. Diregraf Captain causes target opponent to lose a life, and Vengeful Dead causes each opponent to lose life. So it's an order of expense when your combos can go off, and that's Vengeful Dead, Diregraf Captain, then Vengeful Dead, then Vela the Nightclad. Each one does the same thing, cause your opponents to lose life when one of your zombies dies. So you have your zombie control there and your zombie there, and she does any creature you control. So she becomes important for a couple of different things. One of the ways to get the combos working properly, and I'm just trying to get these cards so that they're easily usable or visible, is to get Rooftop Storm out into play. Because with Rooftop Storm, you technically have a turn 2 combo, which uses Dark Ritual. I'll move Hex Parasite out of the way. Soul Ring, Grimgrin, Gravecrawler, and one of your zombies here. And an island or a swamp. So you put out your swamp, then you put out Soul Ring, and then you put out your island, and then you cast Dark Ritual, tap your Soul Ring, and Rooftop Storm comes out into play because you have your blue, and then your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can put out your Gravecrawler, Grimgrin, and Diregraf Captain or Vengeful Dead immediately for an instant kill of everybody on the board. And that's a turn 2 capable combo. One of the things, let me get to the basis of why I built this deck. A lot of it has to deal with sacrifice. So we have, where are they? We have smallpox, which is a sorcery. It doesn't really work well. Let's see here. I'm trying to find my sacrifice. There we go. We've got Friction Altar. I did have Ashnod's Altar in here, but I moved that to another deck. Then Tuco Husk. And a couple of others, and they're not even showing anymore. Disciple of Bolas. You need to have flash for this. And let's see here. I think that's about it. You can use the Heaven Ghoul Rune Binder to save stuff, people from doing things with your graveyard. So you can sacrifice a creature card from your graveyard to do stuff. Nope, that's about it. Those are the only ones that really deal with sacrifice. I had put together, this is like the second or third incarnation of the deck. I had a lot of sacrifice cards in here to defeat cards like Capsize and stuff like that. That would cause your opponent's spells to fizzle once targeted, and when the you sacrifice for some effect, and those spells will fizzle. So it has changed since then. I've added things in here for doing milling and a whole bunch of other stuff. The main combos are Grimgrin and Gravecrawler, and then one of your pingers with Rooftop Storm in play, because then you get infinite casts of Gravecrawler, because as long as you've got a zombie in play, Gravecrawler will cost nothing to bring from your graveyard back into play. And you've got to watch out when somebody puts something, gets rid of your graveyard. But if you have Leyline of Anticipation in play, then you can very easily make sure that anything in your graveyard that can be cast from your graveyard is cast, because Leyline of Anticipation lets you cast things as those that had flash. Another way to kill people is to go into a Wolf Hunter's Quiver and an infinite tap and untap of Grimgrin. So here's one thing that you can do. If you can get an infinite amount of mana, say you have Rooftop Storm and Gravecrawler and Grimgrin in play, and you've got Friction Arena in play, you now have unlimited blue and or black mana, because Gravecrawler costs nothing to play because of Rooftop Storm, and as long as Grimgrin is in play, you can, or another zombie, it doesn't have to be Grimgrin, you can infinitely sack Gravecrawler to Friction Altar to add mana to your mana pool. So you use that, and you then start doing weird things like Temporal Aperture, or sucking up tokens from everything. There's a lot of different things you can do. But the main thing is to mill people, and you do that with, where is my friend? He should be a 5. Consuming Aberration. When you're constantly casting Gravecrawler from your graveyard, you mill your people with Consuming Aberration, because whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until they reveal a land, then puts those cards into the graveyard. Consuming Aberration gets infinitely large, and all of your opponents' graveyards become infinitely big, and their libraries infinitely small, because Gravecrawler is being pulled in and out of the graveyard constantly. Now, one of the ways to get around this, if Grimgrin is constantly being knocked off, or some other things, and they're not getting rid of your enchantments, you bring out a wonderful, wonderful enchantment that is a 4-drop called, or is that a 5-drop? It's a 5-drop called Conspiracy, and you call Zombie. Now, all your creatures are zombies, and Consuming Aberration is a zombie, which allows you to get your Gravecrawler back out into play, and Rooftop Storm, Conspiracy, Consuming Aberration, Gravecrawler equals mill out your opponent. Notion Thief is put in there for extra draws. Let's see here. There's a lot of things. I should have organized these a little bit better. So this is the main combo pieces here for the ultimate turn 2 win. Grimgrin, Come on, just stick with the thing. Gravecrawler, Dark Ritual, Soul Ring, and we're going to say Vengeful Dead is the next piece because that's the best piece of them all. Because he can be put out into play free. Well, Diregraf Captain as well. So either of these two plus these, an island and a swamp, is a guaranteed turn 2 win if you can get them all out on turn 2. Soul Ring, very easy to get out on turn 1. And if you have the mana and the rest of the cards, Grimgrin's going to be available. Oh, and Rooftop Storm. There you go. That's going to get everybody out into play. Now, Conspiracy pairs up with a lot of things. Rooftop Storm for one, because as soon as you call zombie, all your creatures become zombies, and you can put out your Nantuka Husk, your Consuming Aberration, and these lands are driving me nuts. Let's pull these up off of here. And this has, okay, joy. Let me see if that fixes if we swap. No, it doesn't, because for some reason it's showing all the land and stuff. So there's all that stuff there. With your infinite mana, with Phyrexian Altar and the other guys, Exsanguinate becomes an extremely deadly spell because you infinitely mill everybody, suck everybody's life. Zombie Infestation allows you to put zombies into play, which works with a couple of things. Oversold Cemetery lets you get your stuff out of your graveyard for free, along with Shieldred, who also causes other people to sacrifice stuff. Weighted Precinct 6 goes with Consuming Aberration and Milling aspect. Duskmantle Guildmage is infinite milling with that and Mind Crank. So first thing you do is you get Duskmantle Guildmage activated with Mind Crank in play, or you put Mind Crank in play, and then you immediately force people to mill. One card is all you need. Mind Grind of 3 will work perfectly. Illusionist Bracers just allows you to make things bigger faster. I'm thinking about taking it out. Nim Deathmantle goes into infinite when you have Ashnod's Altar, which is no longer here. And where is he? The Grave Titan, because you can sacrifice the zombies that the Grave Titan brings in to you sacrifice him and a zombie to attach Nim Deathmantle to Grave Titan, which then you sacrifice him and another zombie to get Nim Deathmantle again, and so on and so forth. Ashnod's Altar really needs to be in play for this to work properly. Swiftfoot Boots is there because it's a staple of EDH. You make sure that your stuff is hexproof, so that keeps Grimgrin from being affected by any like tuck spells or anything like that. Temporal Aperture is there for card draw. So there's that, and it just puts it straight into your hand, straight onto the battlefield without paying its casting cost. So you can get your pieces out there. Blue Sun Zenith allows you to get your cards out faster. This is Mana Fixing, which I'll put over here. Let's see here. This is just a zombie that gives you a way to exile stuff out of your graveyard to put more zombies into play, and it's also an anthem. This is an anthem with regen. Phyrexian Arena's card draw. This is ping, and if you can tap him and untap him an unlimited number of times, which if you Wolfhunter's Quiver and Servant of Timoret, you can ping and then ping people for 1 point of damage, and then when he untaps, you gain life. But Wolfhunter's Quiver goes with Grimgrin, so you can tap Grimgrin and then sack Gravecrawler to him to tap Grimgrin again to do 1 point of damage, and sack Gravecrawler to him again after you bring him back with Rooftop Storm and all that. Zathrid Necromancer works with Conspiracy, so what you do is you call out Zombie, or you call out human actually with Conspiracy, and then whenever Gravecrawler goes into the graveyard, you're going to have issues. So to combat that, Xenograph has been put in, which is another 5-drop. Xenograph will allow you to call human. So everything is, if you have Conspiracy and you have Xenograph in play, then you have zombie humans. It's got to be in that order. Conspiracy first, Xenograph second, because then everything will be zombie humans. Or you can say human zombies to throw people off. But then every time a human dies, which is any card, like your Gravecrawler, you put a 2/2 zombie creature token out of the battlefield. So you get infinite tokens if you have Rooftop Storm, and even if you don't have Grimgrin, if you have Rooftop Storm and Gravecrawler with Phyrexian Arena, then infinite mana is yours. So you sacrifice Gravecrawler for black mana, and then you can cast them again with Phyrexian Arena if you don't have Rooftop Storm in play. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again, and there you go. Zombie Master is Swamp Walk and Regenerate, so it's sort of like an Anthem. And with Conspiracy or Xenograph calling zombies, then all your creatures have Swamp Walk. Nightveil Spectre is gaining cards from your opponents and casting them. Darksteel Ingot is mana fixing. Vessel of Endless Rest. Now, if somebody puts their commander in the graveyard, you can tuck it on the bottom of their library. And it's also mana fixing. So there's your mana fixing right there. Boom, beaudoop, and badoop. So there's ways that you can mess around with stuff there. Nightscape Familiar is pretty much mana fixing because you're making your black spells cost less. Turnabout is a way to get lots and lots of mana very, very quickly. If you have Urborg in play, which is one of the lands that we have here, where is it? So we have Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, and we have Cabal Coffers, which is over here, I believe. Cabal Coffers, and say you have something like Vesuva and or Thespian's Stage. Then you make Vesuva and Thespian Stage a copy of Cabal Coffers, and Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth is out. Everything is a swamp. So Cabal Coffers, add black to your mana pool for each swamp you control. So if you've got a bunch of lands, then you immediately have a bunch of mana available. And using Turnabout, you can tap all your land, make a bunch of black mana, and then cast Turnabout using 2 blue and then the black mana to untap your Cabal Coffers, Vesuva, and Thespian Stage to create a bunch more stuff, and then you dump it into, say, Exsanguinate or Black Sun Zenith if you want to get rid of those big things. A whole bunch of things like that. So this is like super mana ramp. Undead Alchemist works wonderfully with the mill mechanic, because anytime a zombie does damage, combat damage to a player, the player mills that many cards, and Consuming Aberration gets bigger, and anytime a creature goes into the graveyard, it's exiled, and you put a 2/2 zombie into play. So that gets rid of things like Kozilek and Ulamog, or Sarah Avatar or Bladesteel Colossus, because as soon as they hit the graveyard, the replacement effect kicks in and they're exiled. While there are certain things like Ulamog and Kozilek, I think their shuffle your graveyard into your library triggers happen. They are still exiled, so their recurring graveyard into the library stuff no longer function. Bloodline Keeper is just there to make tokens and to work with the Necrotic Ooze, because what you do is Necrotic Ooze and Bloodline Keeper with Grimgrin in your graveyard will allow you to do infinite taps and untaps. So Necrotic Ooze, he'll get infinitely bigger. You tap him to put a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying out of the battlefield, and then you sacrifice it to Grimgrin to get him get a +1/+1 counter, and to untap him. And then you tap him to create another. You make infinite dirtles and infinite sacrifices, and look at that. If you have Conspiracy in play, and you've got one of the Vengeful Dead, Diregraf Captain, or Veil of the Nightclad in play, you have infinite death as well. Or you get him up so high, and then if you've got Conspiracy in play and Zombie Master, then he's got Swamp Walk, and it's infinite kill on, an instant kill on one player because of the Swamp Walk. Unless, of course, there's like a fog or something. Nightscape, familiar, yep. Erebos just keeps your opponents from gaining life, and you get card draw, so that comes over to the card draw area. Liliana of the Dark Realms is for mana fixing, mainly, and for infinite shenanigans with lots and lots of black. So Urborg plus Liliana's emblem makes things very, very scary, very, very quickly. Because you suddenly have all this black mana, and you can either tap your Thespian Stage Vesva or Cabal Coffers for black, 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 or, and even Urborg for black, 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 or you tap these for the number of swamps you have, whichever is the greater. Whip of Erebos makes things like Necrotic Ooze or any other creature that you want to come back a viable option. So when you have Whip of Erebos in play and you bring Shieldred into play, then you get the Swamp Walk and a couple other things. But the problem is the things are exiled at the end of turn. And this just lets you get a quick shot in here or there, maybe a killing blow or something like that. This might go away, but the main thing here is you've got the lifelink thing. So if you're down on life and you've got your Necrotic Ooze with its infinite ping capability, and you've got your Vengeful Dead or Diregraf Captain out, or you've got Necrotic Ooze with untap, or Grimgrin with untap, and ping for damage, you end up getting damage because our life back. This is loss of life, loss of life, loss of life. And what you want to do is get as much life as possible. So even Servant of Timoret with Wolfhunter's Quiver then gives you lifelink. Its normal ability is just a life suck like Exsanguinate. Thran Dynamo is just your average ramp. You had 3 for 4. That's not too bad. It's not the best, but it's not too bad. Let's see here. Black Sun Zenith is creature removal. Jace Memory Adept is draw and mill. Call to the Grave is a way to get rid of other people's creatures like Shieldred. Only as long as you have zombies in play, this is always there. And if you have Conspiracy calling zombies or Xenograph calling zombies, then your creatures are all safe. Diabolic Revelation is just a tutor of large magnitude. Exquisite Blood Sanguine Bond is the infinite combo of 2 cards where you do 1 point of damage and you clear the board. Havengul Lich just allows you to cast your stuff from the graveyard for 1. So that with an infinite mana allows you to cast stuff out of your graveyard. Mirko Vosk Mind Drinker is part of the mill side of the house. Psychosis Crawler goes with Jace and with Blue Sun Zenith for life loss on your opponents. Zombie Infestation allows you to discard your cards to get more zombies into play. Disciple of Bolas is just card draw, card draw. Smallpox is a way to completely and utterly tick off people. Because if somebody has that Blightsteel Colossus or Kozilek or It That Betrays or whatever, Smallpox will get rid of that big creature because they have to sacrifice it. Mikaeus, the Unhallowed, is a wonderful thing, especially in conjunction with Hex Parasite and anything that you want to have come back from your graveyard over and over and over again. So that's the tricky thing. It's when you have Gravecrawler come into play, you can have it bounce back once without having to spend anything. It gets a +1/+1 counter. Your Hex Parasite eats the counter. And then you have your Gravecrawler bounce back, so on and so forth. Or any number of things. The main thing that this works with is not here. I have since modified and put Triskelion in the deck. So Triskelion will infinitely dirtle with Mikaeus the Unhallowed and cause the board to blow up. I'll do a What's the Combo with Mikaeus the Unhallowed and stuff like that in a future What's the Combo episode. The Havengul Runebinder, of course, we talked about. Oversold Cemetery and Shieldred are pretty much the same thing. And that's about it. Let's take a look at the cards. As you know, Cabal Coffers just gets us black for each swamp, and Urborg plays with that. Veziva copies Cabal Coffers, and Thespian Stage allows us to play with Cabal Coffers as well. This is not a legendary land, which is awesome. Urborg, however, is. Esper Panorama, well, you get, it's mana fixing. You go out and get what you need. Everglades adds a black and a 1, and you can just return a swamp to your hand, and Everglades is a 1 and a black. Grixis Panorama, just like Esper Panorama, you use it to get an island or a swamp. Esper Panorama is for an island or a swamp. Halimar Depths, you index the top 3 cards of your library. It always works. High Market is a sacrifice outlet, so you tap, sack a creature to gain a life. The Juar Isle Refuge, or Huar Isle Refuge, or Uar Isle Refuge, whichever, is just a duel that gets you life. Nephalia Drownyard is a way to enable the Mind Crank and Duskmantle Guildmage combo. Opal Palace, well, that just makes Grimgrin more powerful and allows you to get your mana fixing. It's a dual land, but it's a filter land. Tainted Isle is add 1, and you get a blue or a black as long as you control a swamp. And this works very, very well because it doesn't ping you for anything. Vivid Creek and Vivid Marsh is are mana fixing. Watery Grave is a shock land. Drowned Catacomb is enters the battlefield tapped unless you control an island or swamp. So it's a dual land that comes into play normally untapped. Dreadship Reef is a storage, so you keep adding storage counters and then you can pull it off for any number of blue or black mana. Dimir Aqueduct is a dual land that produces both. Command Tower, of course, is a staple. Dimir Guildgate is a dual land, which I'm thinking about getting rid of for something else. Bojuka Bog is just a way to exile somebody's graveyard while you can. Reliquary Tower lets you keep stuff in your hand. Rogue's Passage makes things unblockable. And you know what swamps and islands do. So that's pretty much it. There are a lot of infinite combos in here, mainly because I wanted to try and build ways to win the game quickly. And I ran across the Grimgrin Corpseborn, Gravecrawler, Dark Ritual Soul Ring, Pinger for Death of a Zombie, and Rooftop Storm combo quite by accident. I didn't even realize it was there. I did a What's the Combo on this, and it works very well if you can get all 8 of those cards that you need in play. Excuse me. Then there's there's the infinite mana that I came across recently. I was completely surprised that that happened, and that worked very, very well. Had I pulled Exsanguinate, I would have won the game, but I was just able to get everything in my hand out onto the table. Turnabout allowed me to go from 7 life to about 66 life with an Exsanguinate when at the very last minute, and surprise people. Fraction Arena, there was a game that I played with my Bruna deck where opponent had Fraction Arena and I turned it into a creature with Opalescence, made it into a cloned it with a clone, and then my friend and I began to pummel each other with 3/3 Fraction Arenas. That was just a really fun game to go through. I threw in Vessel of the Endless Rest to get those commanders and Wonder and what is it, Fury, those cards that give effects when they're in the graveyard. That gets them out of there. There's a lot of things that are going to go away, like the Bloodline Keeper is probably going to go out. Mirko Vosk is going to go out. I'm going to go and try and make this as much a zombie deck as possible because I want to try and show up at some tribal EDH League a couple of times. So everyone like Vela, Notion Thief, Mirko Vosk, Bloodline Keeper, the Hex Parasite, unfortunately it's not a zombie. Psychosis Crawler is not a zombie. It kills a lot of the stuff in here, and Disciple of Bolas. But there's a lot of stuff in here that will work very, very well. Like, these are all zombie related. Necrotic Ooze comes out. He's a zombie. I'm a zombie. He's a zombie. You're a zombie. She's a zombie. Wouldn't you like to be a zombie too? So there's also the main thing I did with this deck is I wanted to get over the sacrifice mechanic because I didn't understand it. So I created the whole sacrifice deck to make sure that everything worked the way I wanted it to defeat Capsize and to get over sacrificing my permanents. And I provided ways to get permanents back when I sacrifice them. It's a really weird deck, and I think once I pull out all the non-zombie cards, like this is a lot right there. And the Human Wizard, even though he deals with zombies, he has to come out because he's not a zombie. Same thing with Shieldred. Oversold Cemetery does the same thing. You just have to have 4 zombies in your graveyard. He is technically a zombie because Lords have been, as you can see here, creature zombie. They've been fixed up. This guy here, he's a zombie, even though he says Lord. Let's see here. Anything else here that is a non-zombie? He's a zombie, okay. Zathrid Necromancer, even though he deals with zombies, he has to come out too. Nivale Spectre has to come out. Zombies. So there's a lot I have to do to make this tribal compliant, but for the most part, it needs to have a nice sacrifice mechanic to it. And with Khans of Tarkir and Theros, there's a lot of things that I can... Oh yeah, did I pull out? Yeah, I did pull out Erebos. So there's a lot of things that have to come out so I can throw in the zombie stuff that allow me to recurse things and all that other fun thing. Well, that is it for Grimgrin. The main thing is to get the combos in, the zombie combos, and to make things like Capsize not work anymore. And I think I might put Capsize in this deck because that's a really powerful... Oh, and I missed Dismiss into Dream. I put this in here because of Wolfhunter's Quiver, so you can completely eliminate everybody else's creature states because they have to be sacrificed. So that gets around things like indestructibility and stuff like that, but not Hexproof or Shroud, which becomes an issue. But for the most part, Dismiss into Dream makes things really, really wonderful when you've got things like Wolfhunter's Quiver and Grimgrin able to tap and untap an infinite number of times. Get rid of everybody's board state first, and then get rid of everybody else. Just for the fun of it. Oh well. So take what you will. This deck is going to change, and I'll provide an updated deck list. But for the most part, this is it for Grimgrin. Until next time, enjoy playing games. Enjoy playing EDH or Commander. Please like, favorite, and subscribe, because the more subscriptions I get, the happier I am. Yeah. The more likes I get to see which videos you guys like, and I can concentrate on that type of content or that kind of presentation. And favoriting it so you can come back and view the stuff again if you like it that much. Please take the time to visit www.patreon.com and /ExcaliburZone and become a patron. Even $1 a month helps immensely, because 1/2 of all my net proceeds go to charity, and the other half goes to me making more content and being able to focus more on the content that I have here. And you're helping not only me, but a bunch of people who need the financial support, and you're actually getting a benefit out of you for you as well, because you'll get to see more content that you're enjoying. As always, this is Excalibur, and I am out.